It's this yellow that's actually in the book, is what I'm talking about. Now I can ask, if this book didn't exist, could this instantiation of yellow exist? Now I don't mean, could the general color yellow exist? Because obviously the answer to that is no, right? So let's say this book pops out of existence, or I don't know, I burn it, and the book no longer exists. Like, there are still going to be yellow things in the world. Like, canaries will still be yellow, I have some yellow dresses. It doesn't extinguish the color yellow. The question is, does it extinguish the particular yellow that's in this book? Does that go out of existence? And it seems like, well, yeah, it's not like I burn this book, and then I collect the ashes of the book, and oh yeah, here's this like lump of yellow next to it that still exists. Once the book is gone, this particular instantiation of yellow is gone too. So if the book didn't exist, this particular instantiation of yellow couldn't exist. But now I'm going to ask the question in the other way. So if this instantiation of yellow didn't exist, could this book exist? And, well, it seems like the answer to that is yes. So think about it this way. Let's suppose I have my book here, and I have a vat of, like, I don't know, bleach, something that strips dye, and then I have a vat of blue dye. So I put the book into the vat that strips all the yellow off of it, and then I put it in the blue dye, and I have a blue book now. Okay, so clearly I have a different kind of book. I used to have a yellow book, and now I have a blue book. But the question is, did the book itself stop existing? Like, when I'm holding the blue book, am I holding an object that's different, like that's a different object from the thing I was holding before I dyed it? And there it seems like the answer is no. It's the same thing, it's just that it's a different kind of thing. So this book could exist, even if the instantiation of yellow didn't exist. So here we're going to say that the instantiation of yellow ontologically depends on this book. So what gives this instantiation of yellow its existence is the book. And since the book is giving this instantiation of yellow its existence, we say that this book is more fundamental than this instantiation of yellow. And if you're with me thus far, you think that we can order things in terms of fundamentality. Because you can think, okay, this book couldn't have existed if matter didn't exist. But matter could exist even if this book didn't exist. You know, I throw this book in the fire, it becomes ash. Well, I still have something that's matter, even though it's no longer a book. So matter is more fundamental than the book, and the book is more fundamental than that instantiation of yellow. So here we're thinking we can now define fundamentality in terms of what ontologically depends upon nothing else. So this actually spells trouble for the ontological basement view. I'm just going to say this really quickly because I think it's kind of cool. So the ontological basement view says that what's most fundamental are the entities that make up everything else. So when I was learning about this, I learned that quarks seem to be a counterexample to the ontological basement view. So I don't know very much about quarks. So like any good scholar, I went on Wikipedia, and the first thing I found was that apparently a quark is a kind of jury product. So that was interesting. But then I learned that there's something called the bag view of quarks, and I don't really understand it, so don't ask me. But the idea is that quarks can only exist in groups. So as you try to excite the quark more to get the quark to like break out of the bag, before you have enough energy for the quark to break out, you have enough energy for the quark to produce an anti-quark, and then they like spontaneously combust or something. So the idea is that there is no way to get a quark to exist by itself. But of course, protons can exist by themselves. So it looks like if we're just thinking about fundamentality in terms of ontological dependence, a proton is more fundamental than a quark because we can have singular protons, but we can't have singular quarks. But of course, the ontological basement view says that what is most fundamental is what makes up reality, and quarks make up protons. So it seems like we're being pushed in two different directions here. So maybe the ontological basement view is incorrect. Okay, so I'm just going to say one more thing here, and we're going to skip section 4. So finally, fundamentality as a form of explanation. So some philosophers want to go further and say that fundamentality isn't just about ontological dependence, it's actually about explanation. So if A ontologically depends on B, then the existence of A explains the existence of B. So why do quarks exist? Quarks exist because, why do protons exist? They exist because quarks exist. Why do quarks exist? Because strings exist. So there's a sense in which fundamentality has to do with explanation. So the more fundamental something is, the more it's explaining about existence. So here, what is most fundamental is what explains the existence of everything. But now we've come to a deep question. So can we ultimately explain existence? And by that I mean, can we explain why something exists rather than nothing? Right, so we're gonna assume that let's assume we're ontological ceiling people. So we can explain why I exist. I exist because I'm part of the universe, and the universe exists. Can we explain why the universe exists? Well, the universe is the most fundamental entity, so there's nothing more fundamental than the universe that can explain it. But then, that seems like the universe doesn't have an explanation for its existence. But the existence of the universe is supposed to be explaining why everything else exists. So it seems like ultimately, the fact that anything exists at all rests on this fact, the existence of the universe, that we have no explanation for. Now, historically, some philosophers thought that this was completely intolerable. And the reason was they thought the most fundamental entity was God. But we can't just say, right, that God's existence is somehow, it's a brute fact. It's just something that exists in the world. You know, we can't ask questions about it. We thought, of course, we can ask questions about God's existence. The fact that God exists just falls out of the concept of what it is to be God. You know, if you're God, you exist. And they called this self-explanation. So they said God's existence explains itself. So our question is, can the most fundamental entities explain themselves? So the idea is, think about the fact a triangle has 3 sides. That's a good candidate for a self-explaining fact. Once you grasp that a triangle has 3 sides, you understand the explanation for the fact. What it is to be a triangle is just to have 3 sides. So the question is, when we grasp the fundamental entities, for example, the universe, can we just see that it exists? Well, it seems like I think probably not, because I can imagine a universe that doesn't exist. But then the universe's existence is kind of like this thing we can't explain, it's arbitrary or it's an accident. But then we're forced into saying that the fundamental entities must be self-explaining. So I think this is a really deep question. Some philosophers think that if we can't explain why there is anything at all, as opposed to nothing, we've just given up the project of philosophy. We've given up metaphysics. There must be an explanation for why we have something rather than nothing. And that's why they think that ultimately existence is self-explaining. The fact that things exist can just be read off their concepts. Okay, so I'm going to skip the 4 sections so we can talk a little bit. If you're a Yale student and you liked this lecture, there will be chances to study analytic metaphysics this year at Yale. If you're not a Yale affiliate, but you would like to learn more, I really like this book on metaphysics. You can get it for like $9 on Amazon, which is what I saw last night. So it's Metaphysics, the Contemporary Introduction. This is what I actually use to learn metaphysics. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to take questions. thank you all for being such a great audience.
Asking whether something exists, bringing them to ask other questions in philosophy?
Yeah, so the question is, what does the question of whether something exists turn on? You know, is that just a question that's all by itself, or do we end up, is it necessary to answer that question in order to ask further questions? So that's really interesting. So one thing that seems to turn on it is what a concept of something is. So I can have a concept of this glass of water, in the sense that I can think about it. Now, when I hold this glass of cup of water in my hand, do I see it? I'm sorry, when I hold it in my mind, do I conceive of it as something that exists? Now, if conceiving of something means that exists, means conceiving of it as existing, that makes existence seem self-explanatory. Meaning, merely by looking around at what we see, we can see that everything exists. But if you don't think existence is self-explanatory, then I can have a concept of this book, and existence isn't contained in that concept. Just by thinking about this particular book, I can't see that it exists. So part of what we're asking with existence, and this is a very deep historical question, is what is it to have a concept of anything? Does the concept of things include whether or not it exists? Yes, in fact.
Yes. It seems to me like a lot of this, like fundamentalism, essentially boils down to a search for terminus, as in like the ultimate big or the ultimate small. How would that work? Because to get to that point, wouldn't you need sort of an infinite element of this is the absolute truth, there is no deeper, this is the end. The smallest thing we've divided, like you said, with atoms, protons, quarks, wouldn't, if we got to a certain point and said, okay, this is it, this is the finality, how could we ever attain that? Aren't we essentially just chasing like an impossible goal? Because it would only be a matter of cracking the next frontier and finding, oh, I found the next smallest thing, or the next biggest thing, as you sort of said. So how do philosophers propose to complete this task, if they even do?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you so much. So the worry is like, how can we ever determine for sure that we've arrived at what fundamentally exists? Whether we think that's the smallest unit that makes up reality, or the maximal unit, the largest thing exists. Because surely we might think that we found the minimal unit, only to later find out that actually there's an even more minimal unit. So how can we be sure we've ever hit the bottom? It's not like, it's not like we can run a test and say, oh no, we've determined that this is the smallest unit, because science changes all the time. These might have just been crappy tests, and 100 years later we get a better test and it shows, no, this wasn't the absolute bottom. And so then, if we can't ever be sure that something is the absolute bottom or absolute top, why think that there's an absolute bottom or absolute top in the first place? So I think we have to go, so the way philosophers think about this is they try to reason by asking, okay, what would it mean if there were infinite change, if there were no bottom or were no top? And this is where this word came from. Well, they say that can't be the case, because then where does existence come from? So they're trying to show by pure reason, if you will, that there must be a bottom or there must be a top. Even if we're never sure that we hit the top or that we hit the bottom, there must be something that's most fundamental. So and that I think is the way that philosophers see themselves as speaking to science, or how we're supposed to interpret the results of science. Yes, all the way in the back.
Back to so we began by talking about entities and building blocks. But I've heard some other theories on really how this stuff is much that considers existence more from like a dynamic movement or energy point of view rather than like static blocks that build, almost like a world full of lots of little eddies. And then my second point of that, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I'm like, can these two things emerge, or would we get something new from the building block view if we started from the energetic relationship point? And then also, like, you were talking about certain theories, I suppose, I don't know enough about it, but if there were multiple dimensions that we could not sense or use our sort of scientific advancements to probe into, then we're sort of looking at the elephant's tail, for example, and we'll never ever be able to see the rest of the thing. So it might not even be a question of the smallest and the biggest, but like where are the boundaries of the movement, and like how can you even really imagine them? But maybe big and small is essentially not the right question to be asking.
Yeah, so thank you so much for both of your questions, and they're really interesting. So the first worry was that like we shouldn't really think about existence in terms of like little building blocks. Really, when we talk about existence, we talked about like whirlpools, so we can think sometimes these are called fields or forces. Sometimes I've heard them talked about in terms of like functions. So actually, some people think that very consideration pushes us towards the ontological ceiling view. So because we have, like, if you think of all of existence, is actually, what underlies it is this like giant single wave or giant single field, however you want to think about that. Well, then it seems like what's most fundamental is actually the entirety of all of existence. And that's when we should really be explaining what exists. Because anything else that exists, we should really think about as just sections of that one giant force. And they're sort of arbitrarily demarcated. They're not carving out the joints of nature, because these are carvings that aren't really fundamental. What's fundamental is the entire thing. And then your second question, I think, was sort of pushing us, these are considerations that was pushing us towards maybe a substance-like view. So you were thinking like, just because something's the biggest or the smallest thing, doesn't necessarily mean it's the most fundamental. So maybe, say that chair is a subatomic particle, or it's a string. There might be dimensions that we can never access. Then I might think, okay, that's not an impetus for saying that what exists in those dimensions is part of what's fundamental. But you might think that what fundamentally exists has to do with what we can access. And then here you just move to a substance view, and you say the substance is, what a substance is, it's the part of the string that exists in our dimensions. Now, there are other parts of the string that exist, and there are things that might even make up the string that we can't access. But what is really real is just the part of the string that we have access to. So it really depends on how much you think our ability to access something epistemically in terms of what we can know about it, how much that affects what we want to call, how much that affects what we call fundamentality. But yeah, thank you so much for that question. Yes?
Professor Birchler, thank you for an enticing, delightful journey.
You're welcome.
What propelled you and has propelled other philosophers to enter into this journey of discovery?
Yeah, so I think one question that moves a lot of philosophers is, when are questions that we're asking just questions about word choice? And when are we trying to get at something that is actually a distinction in nature? So we might think that two things are empirically identical. So for example, the basement view and the ceiling view look empirically identical. But is that distinction, is that just a manner of talking? Or is that a distinction that's actually in nature? And if it's a distinction in nature, how do we understand it? How do we understand distinctions that seem to be part of nature, but that are not empirically observable? And that's where it seems we need philosophy. So here's a very standard distinction that isn't really empirically observable. So the distinction between Socrates and the singleton set Socrates, right? So if you've done math, you know that you can group entities in sets, and a set of entities is distinct from the entities that comprise them. But can you observe the difference between Socrates and the singleton set Socrates? Not really. You can represent it with math, but you can't observe it in the physical world. But it seems like that really is a really real distinction. They seem mathematically distinct, and not only that, but they really do seem distinct. So how do we understand what that is? That doesn't have to do with the empirical world directly, at least. So how do we understand how reality is structured in order to explain the intuitive difference we feel between those two things?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we have time for like one last question. Yes?
We talked about and kind of give the impression that if we consider those, we then even be thinking about these fundamentalist questions. So what I want to ask is that where do you place these kind of views when you're studying metaphysics, or do you consider them, or do you simply
Yeah, so that's a really important question. So the question is, how can we separate questions about what is fundamental from questions like, how do we know there is anything? So questions about what we can know are questions of epistemology. And the questions about what there is have to do with metaphysics. And throughout the history of philosophy, there's been kind of like push and pull between epistemology and metaphysics. Which comes first? Does epistemology explain metaphysics? Does metaphysics explain epistemology? Because of course, in order to figure out what there is, you're right, you need to know, well, how do we know that anything is there? Like, in order to even talk about, like, how fundamental is this chair, we have to be certain that this chair exists. But then when we ask, how do we know that this chair exists, we have to figure out what are we asking? What does it mean to know that the chair exists? Well, partly it's to stand in a certain kind of relation to the fact that the chair exists. Namely, it's to have a certain kind of belief that's true, that I acquired in a certain way. But then if we don't know what the fact this chair exists, if we don't know what that is, how can we know what it means to know that the chair exists? So these questions are kind of like it's like a snake that's eating its own tail. And it's really hard to figure out where to start. Oftentimes people think of philosophy as kind of a giant web. Everything connects to everything else. And you want a theory that hangs together the right way. But the theory doesn't really seem to have a starting point. And there are really deep questions. Does that make philosophy really different from the empirical sciences? Or in fact, are actually all sciences like that? We should think of all science as kind of a web, and we're just tinkering with individual pieces, but in no particular order. Thanks. I think we're out of time, but unless we get kicked out of the room, I'm happy to stay for a few minutes after the lecture if anyone wants to talk to me. And thank you all so much. I had a lot of fun. I hope you
It's kind of far.
Oh, it's like halfway upstairs. So you guys both going? I think this.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, within philosophy? It's known for the blank stare objection, also known as that's just so weird. I have no objection except the blank stare.
Really?
So it's considered, if you're a modal realist, you're going to this.
Like no one really cool. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
How's it going?
Hi.
Connors, and so I guess just like Connor in Cambridge philosophy. So what can I? I'm doing like a book club almost, but just like straight philosophy.
What do you want?
Any idea? What?
Yeah, so you should go to my website.
Okay.
So it's I have a whole. I get asked this so many times. But I
Right.
have a whole list, which is basically everything that I read.
Sweet. Also, any point like, not to like cut you off there, but
There-
actual like, I don't know, coming here sparks like the conversation of